don't really like the new 17 Pro Max after using it for a week. There are numerous things that I was not expecting. There are some downsides, and I'll explain exactly why. So here are the real world differences and if this new phone is worth it. Now, first off, I'll say Apple completely just shifted their whole game plan, and I don't know. I don't like it, but it also is kind of nice. It's confusing. They changed up the whole design to aluminum from titanium or stainless steel in the past. And if you're somebody that was disappointed by aluminum, well, guess what? It's not going to change. It's going to stick this way. I personally don't like the look of this phone. I think the old one looks better. The new orange color really pops, but it looks a little bit toy-like. It draws a lot of attention and it does look nicer overall in my opinion. This kind of looks boring, but because of all the denting and scratching, there's no way I wanna use this every single day. The aluminum is very, very slippery. The titanium had much better grip, and I've dropped this phone so many times and it is in fantastic condition. So why did Apple make this change? Well, we tore apart a 17 Pro. We showed you guys the insides of that, and we found some amazing improvements, and some of those have actually lived up to the hype. Now, the first downside I really want to cover, other than the design, is the cellular and Wi-Fi performance. Apple launched a new chip, their own Wi-Fi, and I expected a lot. They also have a much better cellular chip from Qualcomm as well that we found. But in the real world, in a majority of my tests, it is actually performing slower than the 16 Pro Max. And that was a bummer. Both tests here in the office and then tests I did around town at my house in bad conditions, the speed is worse. I don't know why. Now, it seems like the reception might be a little bit better where you'd have a weaker signal before, but the actual speed is worse. And same thing with their new Wi-Fi 7 chip. It is performing worse at my house as well. Now, the flip side to that is the battery life. Maybe it's tuning for the battery life, and I'll cover that in just a little bit. But that resulted in some disappointment in the first couple days using this phone, then picking up my old one and just the amazing feeling of it. It's just really nice. Now, Apple launched the new Air, and when we tested that one, first got our hands on it, it was amazing. And I went a couple days back and forth wondering if I could make that work. But then after the next 4 or 5 days, this phone kind of won me over. Now, with this whole aluminum redesign, it allowed Apple to take this from a beautiful, luxurious sports car, which is now the iPhone Air, and it's severely limited, to pretty much a truck. You're trading aesthetics and just beautifulness for something that just gets the job done, and that is the new Pro iPhones. This function over form design allowed them to put in better speakers, and man, the speakers are loud. It allowed for a massive battery and of course the new thermal system that makes the new A19 Pro, which is a beast of a chip, be able to perform phenomenally. I mean, it seems more like a diesel in a truck than what we had here. It also allows for faster charging, and let me tell you, this is the first time in many years that we get faster than 50% in 30 minutes. 20 minutes now is 50%. And what blew my mind is even at 65% charge, we are still pulling the same amount of wattage as the peak you would get with the old one. So the charging curve changed, probably because of thermals, and this thing charges really, really fast. Now, regardless of whether you upgrade or not, our long-term sponsor MOFT sent us their new Snap Studio set with everything you need to be more efficient when on the go. First up, the MOVA Snap case uses vegan leather, and it's truly the case that Apple should have made, with soft leather-like texture, clicky aluminum buttons, and all-around protection, while being loaded with strong magnets so you can snap their various accessories like the Snap Tripod Wallet, which instantly unfolds into a tripod stand with various angles, yet it also has space for 2 cards on the inside. Or you can use the new Snap Field Wallet, which also has a strong stand but uses an origami design for loads of storage on the inside for cash, cards, SIM cards, and and SIM ejector tool. Then there's MOFT's new Snap Duo watch band, which is hands down the most convenient band I've seen, fully lined with magnets so it's super quick and easy to put on and adjust, with soft pebble texture for all-day comfort. Then they have their everyday lanyard, which easily connects to the MOFT Snap case for hands-free use. So use the links in the description and pinned comment below to order MOFT's new Snap accessories. Also, the first time in many years, we have a RAM upgrade up to 12 gigs, and in the whole week, I never once went back to an app and found it to be closed, like YouTube, for example, which has happened to me many times with the 8 gigs of the 17. And the comfort also surprised me, going back and forth between them, with Apple going back to the curved edges on this. It's just nice and comfy in the hand, like a big truck with a lot of space, compared to something that's sharp and edgy. Now, of course, this comfort and durability probably won't matter if you're gonna put a case on, and I think everybody should. But one thing that really surprised me is the new display. It is nice and bright outside. It is noticeable how much brighter it is, and I did not notice any dimming even on the hottest days. But what shocked me is that even after a week without a screen protector, I have no micro scratches on this screen, and I wanted to test it out because on the previous iPhones, within a week, I had scratches, sometimes deeper ones. And in Jerry Rig Everything's test, this is the first screen that does not get deeper grooves. It is just not scratching. That is phenomenal. And of course, even though this body can get scratched up and dinged up, the durability tests online have proven that this thing is so strong. It just might not look the best. And now I want to talk about performance, because this is where the new 17 Pro Max blew my mind. The new cooling system is absolutely incredible. And yes, the new chip is faster, but I think so many of those gains are from the whole thermal system with the vapor chamber that is put inside of here. In our hands-on thermal footage, you could see how the heat is just spread out evenly everywhere. And the worst score on the 17 Pro Max beat out the 16 Pro Max's best score. After 20 minutes, we have a difference of 77% in terms of graphics performance. When did we ever get that big of an increase in 1 year? I don't think we've ever had that. Now, you guys also wanted us to test out using a cooler on the phone. Now, I didn't know which way this could go. In one way, this thing is holding in heat with titanium, and in second, maybe the aluminum will allow it to be drawn out. The 17 got a massive score of 2724 for the high, 2249 for the lowest loop. That is insane. The 16 got 2013 and 1447, so that helped this phone out a lot. And if we look at the gains compared to not using a cooler, the 16 Pro Max definitely has a bigger increase because so much of that heat was trapped. But that pretty much tells us two different things. The cooler still helps this phone out quite a bit, the new one, and you don't really need to have a cooler because even without it, the gaming on this phone, the phone doesn't get very hot at all. And even just charging it up, you notice how much cooler it is when it's charging with more wattage than the old one that was just retaining the heat. That is also good for the battery. Now, speaking of battery life, you're getting about 2 to 3 extra hours compared to the 16 Pro Max, which already had a couple hour gain from the 15 Pro Max. So Apple is just making an absolute beast of a phone, and they changed their whole overall design and goal with this phone just to be an actual pro device. And that's why I can't go for the Air, even though I want to, because that went the complete opposite way. And now I have to cover the cameras, and to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed. Now, you guys might have seen the crazy super zooms for video online. They are so impressive, and that is because we have a lot more zoom now in the video compared to the old one. And of course, we have that new 4X lens that's 48 megapixel. Now, I was super excited for this lens, but looking at the detail in the video at a similar zoom, it's not that much better. I have a bunch of pictures here and I'm mainly gonna focus on the differences, and looking at this 8X, what do you think looks better if I crop in? Honestly, I think the 16 Pro Max looks better. Same thing in a lot of these different shots. There's some small differences, but I was expecting a bigger difference. Now here, the duck looks a little bit more detailed if we punch in, but it's not a big difference. And I noticed when I'm zooming in a lot, the quality's not that big of a difference, and I figured something out. Apple is advertising this as an 8X optical, but then you don't get any of the gains from the 48 megapixel, at least what I saw. The only time you see a good difference is if you're shooting at 4X and enabling that 48 megapixel mode, and then we see some detail improvement if I punch into the photo. Now, yes, the sensor is bigger and you see we have more blur here at a minimal focusing distance. And then here I got as close as I can. Using the 48 megapixel mode, we do see some additional detail. And as far as my testing, you have to be in optimal lighting. You have to be at the 4X mode to get the benefits. Here in lower lighting with 8X, popping in closer, I mean, the difference isn't big at all. Here we have a 4X shot in low lighting, which automatically goes into 12 megapixel mode. And here, obviously you guys see, I think the 16 Pro Max actually looks a little bit better. Here's some other lower lighting shots. We do get some more smoothing, some more processing, but it also looks like we have slightly less detail. And then pushing the low light to the extreme, I mean, it still doesn't give you that great of results. You guys let me know, what are your thoughts here with these differences? I honestly expected more. Now flipping to the new front cameras, this we did not expect. The fact that we have 18 megapixel and having that wider mode because of the square sensor is really cool. Being able to shoot the landscapes while holding the phone straight is super useful. But as far as the overall quality, because it's 18 megapixel, but it's a wider lens, and if you're cropping in for a normal shot, the detail doesn't really look better. Apple focused on function over form, and I do like the function. The one part where I did notice a quality difference is in some low light. It's still not as good as a lot of the Android competition, but look at my jacket, I do have more detail there. But I do wish we had some improvement as far as the actual quality, but then we wouldn't get the extra square sensor part. Now, as far as the other two lenses, well, there's not a big difference. This is a 2X right there in very low lighting. And then here is a 1X with night mode. The quality of processing is slightly better, but it's the same exact sensor. And as far as the ultra wide, we have this kind of low light shot, and we really don't have much of a difference. So compared to previous years, as far as camera upgrades, what I'm seeing is it's not that great. It's more of form over function once again, and you guys let me know your thoughts on that. Now, we're also making some really nice blind camera comparisons, so make sure you guys subscribe to see that video. You will have way more photos to look at. But overall, after 1 week, I will say that I will take this phone. I don't love it as much, it's not as luxurious, there are some downsides, but the fact that we have insane battery life, no overheating, the chip performance is phenomenal, and the cameras are more usable, it is a nice phone and it's designed for professionals. If you really care, you don't have to make money with your phone, but if you use it all the time, you're a heavy user, it definitely is a nice upgrade. Now, for those that don't, now they have the Air, and that thing is sleek, it is beautiful, it feels amazing in the hand, and if you want form over function, you go with that one. And then now Apple is unlocked to not care about the design and the beauty as much, but make something that is like a big truck that can do some serious work for you. So that's how I see this phone. You guys let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next video.